Hi, welcome to the Time for Tea Designs YouTube channel. It's Vic today and I have a fun card I'm going to be sharing with you. I've made a slimline card today using some brand new products from the June release. So I'm starting off using a blank DL card and I've trimmed off a piece of white card a little bit smaller than the card base. And I'm just going to go over this with my ink. So I'm using some Distress Oxide in Milled Lavender and I'm using the beautiful blender brushes. And again, these are just so easy to ink blend with. So if you do have difficulty with blending your inks, I highly recommend using these brushes because they just make the job so much easier. I'm going to be adding ink to the whole piece of the card and I'm just starting at the top and working my way down, and it's not really picking it up great on camera, but I just done that to see the colour of the ink and I'm happy with that. So I've just used a piece of scrap paper so I don't get any fingerprints on my card, and now I'm going in with the Forever Burst stencil, which is a very pretty flowery stencil. And as this is a long line card, the stencil's not going to fit all the way to the bottom. So I'm just going in with some worn lipstick, and feel free to secure your stencil down using some washi tape because they will move around. But I've got quite a firm hand on the piece of card, so I was fine doing it this way. So I'm just going over the whole stencil with the ink, and then to get the bottom part of the card, I've just placed the stencil near the bottom, and this stencil's quite good because I didn't really have to line it up because there's so much detail in the stencil, so you can get away with not lining it up exactly how it needs to be. And plus some of the card will be covered with images, so don't worry too much, just go ahead and have fun. And I believe the Flower Burst stencil was released last month, and if you haven't checked out the release from last month, then go and have a look because there's lots of pretty stencils on the Time for Tea Designs website. So now that's all done and the ink blending's complete, I'm now going to go in with some purple ink, and this is in the colour Wilted Violet. So I'm just putting some ink on my board and then I'm going to add some water and add some droplets of ink to the piece of card, just gently tapping the paintbrush. And I always like to add a bit more colour to my cards if I can, so this is one of my favourite things to do. I'm now going to make the bottom part of my card, and I wanted to make some hills that the images can be placed on. So I've just used some white card and my pair of scissors to make a hill shape. Once I've done the first piece, I'm going to use my little trimmer to trim this down, and then I'm going to be doing exactly the same thing to the other piece of card. So I'm going to be left with two hills and one of them will be a little bit taller than the other one. And once I've got the two hills, I'm just trimming these down. I never really measure anything, I just guess. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm having fun. So next, after I've done this, I'm then going to be using some bundled sage Distress Oxide ink, and I'm using the beautiful blender brushes again to apply my ink to both pieces of the card. And here you'll be able to see exactly how well these blender brushes work because they've just picked up the ink lovely and again make it so easy to blend. Once both pieces are blended, I'm going in with my Scene It stencil, and these are the brand new small beautiful blender brushes that are available at the Time for Tea Designs shop, and they're brilliant for little details. So I'm going in with some more Distress Oxide. This is in Crushed Olive, and I'm using the grass piece of the stencil, and I'm not going all the way across, just little tiny bits just to add some texture to both of the hills. And then once I've added the ink to both pieces of the hills, I'm going to go ahead and adhere these hills down onto my card. So for the first hill, I've just added some double-sided tape, and then for the smaller hill, I've added some foam tape to give this some dimension and make it easier to add my images. And now I'm moving on to my images, and the release this month is so sweet. So I've used the Big Hug stamp set, Bake My Day, Buzzing For You and Be Owlsome, which is just so funny. And I'm going to be listing all the Copic markers I've used down below, and I'm just going to add a little bit of music so you can enjoy the colouring. Now the colouring's done, I'm using the Scattered Hearts panel die, and I've die cut this little heart which the mouse can hold, which is just so sweet. And now I'm going to be going ahead and just adhering everything down. So I've used some double-sided tape for my card panel, and I'm going to adhere this down onto my DL card base. And then once that's applied down, I'm going to be adding all the little images that I've coloured, and I'm going to be using foam tape to adhere all the images down. And that little pot I've got at the bottom of the card is just where it kept trying to open up, but it was absolutely fine once I added more images and the top of the card got a little bit heavier. So if that does happen to you, don't worry, just pop something a little bit heavier along the bottom of the cards, and once you start applying your images, your card won't keep trying to open. And I was really chuffed that I remembered my sentiment, because I normally have so much fun colouring in the images and doing the background that I usually forget the sentiment, so I was really happy that I remembered that this time. And now I'm just adding the last little details, so there's some little flowers and some clouds that I'm sticking down. And then to finish the card off, I've got some Nouveau drops, and I'm just going to go and apply these onto the card. And the shade I'm using of the Nuvo drops is Morning Dew, and they dry clear, and it just leaves a really pretty detail on the end of your card. And they normally dry in a few hours, but here you can see how they dry. And that's it, the card's complete. I will list all the products that I use down in the description box below, along with the Time for Tea Designs shop. And thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.